What is healthier? To live under the illusion and still have a little glimmer of hope that you could have been great, or blow it and you realize you're a failure. I think the easier route is to live under the illusion and say, you know, if I had had that chance, I would have beaten all of them.
I have heard of Sly's intense involvement with projects, and I didn't know what to expect with the documentary. The gift that he gave to me was this thing of trust. So there was no boundaries on what I was allowed to discuss or cover in the film. And in some ways, I felt like the collaboration that we had was in conversation, by being in the room together for 5-6 hours, exploring things that he just never had a chance to talk about. So we got past sound bites, we got past that place of repeated stories and got to the quiet of truthful conversation that unpacks the man's journey and also his life in details, that could tell a fuller story about the filmmaker and some of these characters and their influences, where they came from, and how certain themes were repeated throughout his work. The theme of hope being one especially.
Who is this man, Sylvester Stallone? Artist, writer, poet, performer. How does that happen?
I had given up on acting. I was done.
He wasn't cast in things because he was deemed uncastable.
The rejection was my encouragement. At that point, I knew my fate was determined on the pen.
The genius behind that. This was not an accident.
This is the theater where Rocky premiered. My brother goes, this could be the best day or the worst day of your life. Something happened, something magical.
You could hear the cheers from the inside, outside on the street from the theater.
The big part of the story that I suddenly realized was not explored was the idea of Sly the writer, Sly the screenwriter, Sly the filmmaker. This gets lost in the narrative. So going to his office, him pulling down 5 notebooks filled with dialogue, handwritten dialogue of Rocky or Expendables 4, him talking about creating with his pen a character that would let him be an actor and a director. He was, with his pen, he was creating an opportunity, but also with his pen as a writer, he was creating characters that in many ways reflected the things he didn't have in his childhood. The idea of writing a character like Mickey, who's Rocky's boxing mentor, coach, was really a reflection of a father figure he didn't have in his life. So I was able to unpack Sylvester Stallone, the writer, the filmmaker, in a way that just I felt like no one had the chance to.
It's the last picture of him being unknown.
When Stallone became famous, he wasn't expecting the downside.
When you're a truly absorbed filmmaker, you put things before your family, and the repercussions are quite devastating. Now I realize that's all that fucking matters. I lost everything. Could I actually go back and start over again? Not without family.
And one of the themes of the documentary is Sly's moving and packing up his history. And I knew in my mind's eye that visually that would be a powerful metaphor. And I knew that the idea of tapes and hearing your own voice would spur a conversation. I never could dream that it would be Sly having a conversation with himself. And it also gave me an opportunity in the editing to show how freeform the dialogue was between us in the interview process.
Without the love of wife or children, what's this? These are just pictures of something that never existed. If I can take my frustration and voice it, I have a funny feeling that there's millions of people that have that same frustration that were overlooked.
So many people did not want to give him a chance. He had to take it on as a challenge to fight against, and that he literally wrote out a world where he could exist. I didn't quite grasp that in my early stages of the filmmaking. So when he revealed that, and then he revealed how he was looked upon as a student and as a kid, I understood the level and the intensity that he was up against, and just being accepted as an actor and a director in Hollywood. So that made the journey a lot more intense, and that was a big surprise. I had some basic understanding and details, but I loved not knowing everything, and going to a place that he could tell me details that are not repeated or often shared on a talk show. We got beyond that soundbite reality by the setup of the room. He's not sitting in a chair. There's not a crew looking at him. It's me. It's a camera. And we're in his office. And I literally was trying to keep up with him, because he would go from one subject to another subject. And he was full of energy and life. And you would leave these sessions exhausted, but you were in a space with Sylvester Stallone and you felt inspired, just like his films.
I'm in the hope business.